Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I bring you a touch of mystery, intrigue and just downright stupidity, right? So we've all heard by now, we should have done it anyway, of the ASA, otherwise known as the Advertising Standards Authority, right? And they are the ones that keep a tabs on all the the people out there who don't comply with advertising standards or the rules, right, set out. And a lot of this comes down to influencers and things like that. Now, we're not just talking here about the Inghams, but they are very large players in this scenario, right, as you know. So they tend to not advertise very what's the word I'm looking for, openly. They don't declare their ads, right? And they do this on a frequent basis. Now, the ASA are supposed to stop that and clean this up and make it all better, right? So what I'm going to do is, I'm not actually going to moan at the Inghams in this much. Actually, maybe I probably will a little bit, right? But I'm going to have a little go at the ASA because they are supposed to be the ones that are dealing with this and making it right, but they're not. So this is what they say on their website. Sanctions. Our sanctions can have significant negative consequences for advertisers unwilling or unable to work with us. Now, the unable or unwilling to work with us is very important in this situation. So it says here, the vast majority of advertisers and broadcasters agree to follow ASA rulings, not least because if they are seen to be ignoring the rules designed to protect consumers, it can significantly damage their reputation. Now, I understand that. I think that is probably about spot on. Most companies wouldn't want to be seen to be going against something that's designed to protect consumers because it's bad for business, isn't it, at the end of the day? But the thing with Inghams is they don't care, right? Their reputation is shit anyway, so they don't care what people think about them. So yeah, there is that. They don't think about these things though. Where needed, we can provide follow-up advice and guidance to help them comply with the rules, which obviously has happened many times before. But when a party is unwilling or unable to comply, there are numerous sanctions which we can deploy depending on the circumstances. Now, the problem here is, right, it's saying that they can do things when advertisers are unwilling to comply. And I think we've more than proved that the Inghams are unwilling to comply. They don't give a fuck, right? They really don't. The amount of times that I've personally reported them is shocking, right? I've been reporting them since 2018, right? Basically, for basically everything. And I've always had the standard response back from ASA, and it's never had anything. Nothing has happened to these. Nothing. So I just think that there's something wrong here. They're not doing it right, whatever it is. Now, it goes on to say, where non-compliant claims appear on a marketer's own website or in other non-paid for space under their control, such as their social media accounts, we can, firstly, add their name and details of the problem with their advertising to a dedicated section of the ASA website until they comply, right? So basically, if they don't comply, then their name goes on this list, which says that they're bad advertisers and bad people, right? And it says, we use search engine optimization to ensure those details appear in search engine results when consumers look up the company website. So if somebody looks up Ingham family on YouTube or on Google, it'll come up under ASA that, you know, these are bad advertisers and bad people, you shouldn't trust them or whatever, right? Secondly, they can ask search engines to remove paid search ads when those ads contain material or a link to a page on the marketer's website that contains material which breaks the rules. So that's a bit, doesn't really apply, but That's another thing that they can do. They can also place our own paid search ads to highlight the advertiser's name and compliance. So if anybody searches ASA on Google, then the paid search ads might contain the Ingham family on their ads, right? To say that they are bad advertisers. Finally, they can work with social media companies to have non-compliant content removed from their platforms. So, if I may say something here a little bit, right, I feel like these are pretty tame tame sanctions. In my opinion, these are not really anything to be feared. Yeah, they're going to put they're going to pay Google to put ads to say that the Inghams are bad people or bad advertisers. There doesn't seem to be much of a deterrent, right, at all on this. There's a few things that could happen, but there doesn't seem to be anything there that you'd say, oh, I don't want that to happen to me. I mean, if I was a respectable business or a respectable businessman anyway, I would want my name to stay respectable, right? So probably I wouldn't go against the advertising because I wouldn't want my name all over their website, right? But in the case of dodgy companies like Inghams and things like that, it's not really much of a deterrent. My opinion, I don't think so. There needs to be some sort of fine or something to say no. Now, here's a section on non-compliant social media influencers. The influencers listed below are in breach of the CAP code for routinely failing to clearly disclose when they are advertising to consumers on their social media channels. The influencers were contacted by the CAP compliance team and asked to provide an assurance that they would include clear and upfront ad labels in their ads. Those on this list either failed to provide that assurance in the first instance or subsequently reneged on it and will be subject to a period of enhanced monitoring spot checks. Failure to comply might result in further targeted sanctions such as ASA paid ad campaigns, highlighting the influencer's continued non-compliance and onwards referral to enforcement partners. So, it has a list of all the people that have failed to comply. Yes, it absolutely does. And this is the list, right? So, on that list, we've got Joe Bloggs and Jane Smith. Now, call me cynical if you will, but they do sound very much like two very generic names. And possibly not even a real list. Would I be right in thinking that? Absolutely ridiculous. So the list that they claim that they hold on their website of people who have not complied, in actual fact, it just has a couple of generic names, nobody actually real, right? Now, going back to what it's saying here about the influencers who fail to comply, right? What they're basically saying overall is that what happens is they will send an email or a letter to the advertiser, or give them guidance about how to go about advertising properly in the future, right? If that person then turns around and says, yep, that's fine, no problem whatsoever, that'll be that. End of story. That's all they do, right? And if that advertiser turns around and said, well, I don't agree with it, I'm not going to do that, then they'll go on this little watch list thing, right? But even if you say that you're going to comply in the future, these will do spot checks over the next few months to make sure you are complying in the future. However, that is a bit it's not right. It's not going to work for me, that really, because when they do these spot checks, they're not looking at everything, at every eventuality. They're just looking at basic things that's maybe out of place, like you haven't declared the ad, but what if the ad's within the video and they haven't seen the ad? and things like that. It just seems a bit, it's not going to work for me at all. The other thing is that what generally happens with Inghams is that they, after having like a warning, I guess, they will they'll go quiet on the advertising front for a little while, whilst the ASA think that they're back on track and everything, and then they'll carry on again and do what they keep doing, and that is really irritating. Now, I'm going to share with you a recent communication that I had with the ASA that really pissed me off no end. So, a little backstory here, right? A few months back, I put in a complaint. No, I put in 4 complaints at once about 4 separate incidents involving Chris Ingham. That's right, 4 of them. And one of them, if I remember rightly, was his, the competition thing that he, the scam competition that he put forward, when he said that people could win a prize if they bought his book, but there was no prize ever, right? And he lied about that. We've proven that already. Now, that was one of them, but I put in 4 complaints all at the one time, so I figured that was quite a strong case anyway, right? So I had this communication a bit afterwards asking me for more information. They said, thank you for contacting the Advertising Standards Authority so that we can fully assess your complaint. We need to see a copy of the whole ad in question. I can't see who the advertiser is. Once we have this information, we'll determine if the ad is likely to have broken the advertising rules that we administer for the reasons that you've suggested, and take any further action if necessary. In order to proceed in a timely manner, would you therefore please email the ad in its entirety, a link to the ad, or everything else. Right, so I thought, okay, brilliant, they're actually taking a look at it, right? That's a good sign, surely. So I emailed them back and gave them the relevant information. So a little while later I received another email, which was the decision. The decision. It was brilliant. So they said this: thank you for contacting the ASA with your complaint about an ad by Chris Ingham. On this occasion, having taken our prioritization principles into account, we have decided to resolve your complaint through the provision of advice. Therefore, we have explained your concerns to the advertiser and provided them with guidance on how to ensure that their advertising complies with the codes. Thank you once again for taking the time to raise your concerns with us. Comments such as yours help us to understand the issues that matter to consumers, and we will keep a record of your complaint on file for use in future monitoring. If you would like more information, blah blah. Right, so I hit the roof because it's this isn't the first time that Chris has been complained about, legitimately complained about, not just a frivolous complaint, right? Legitimately. And they still haven't done anything. Nothing, ever, right? And this, I felt, was quite a serious complaint, including the competition thing that I mentioned, right? I thought it was very serious. So for them to say, oh, by the way, all we've decided, it's not really important enough, so we've just given them a bit of guidance. He doesn't need guidance, right? He doesn't need guidance. He full well knows the rules, right? He knows the rules. He just doesn't want to comply with them. There's the difference there. So I hit the roof, obviously, and I replied back to them. I said this: thank you for updating me on this case. However, this leaves me extremely concerned about the work the ASA does. This is not the first time this person has been subject to breaching advertising rules. On this one occasion alone, I reported 4 separate instances of him breaking the rules. The main one being luring people in to buy his product with the promise of a prize and then not providing a prize. I note a similar case of Molly May Haig, who committed a similar offence, which she did, right? But not as bad, because actually it wasn't as bad as what Chris did, and yet she got penalised for it. That's my issue, right? And she wasn't penalised for it. Please could you explain why one person is given worse penalty than the other? Chris Ingham and his YouTube channel, The Ingham Family, have broken your rules on a consistent basis, and yet you consistently simply give them advice on how to not break the rules when it's clear they have no intention of following your guidance. It's decisions like this that dissuade people from bothering to report. I have reported many times in the past, but stopped doing so as nothing was ever done. I only started reporting again as the situation was getting so bad, bordering on fraud, and assumed you would be interested in taking action. This is the frustration. I understand that you'd prefer, if possible, to settle things by giving the rule breakers a chance to put right, but at what point does it become a joke to them? So that was my response to them, and to date I haven't had a reply back. You know, I mean, why would you want to reply back to legitimate points of view? Now, having read that back through just now, it kind of makes me more concerned about their work, because what I've written there and what I sent to them was spot on, even though it's, you know, even if I do say so myself. But it's just like, why? What are they there for? I've read you through all the sanctions that they can give, and the sanctions are not a deterrent whatsoever. And then when they try to resolve things, they say persistent people who clearly don't want to work with them and are unwilling to work with them, they will get sanctioned. But I've proven here again that they are not willing to work with them. I've proven that. We have all proven that time and time and time again, and yet still nothing is done. Now, I reported Chris again the other day, right? Again. And that is like, what, a month or two after this one? So they said that they'd sent him guidance on it, and then a month or two later he breaks it again, right? So does that mean that because they've got him on file, will they then look at that and say, right, he has broken the rules already, and then give him a sanction? Or is that just a pipe dream? Because, to be honest with you, right, yes, I don't like the Inghams, but I also don't like people who break the rules in this way. You need to be truthful, upfront, transparent, and I don't like these people who, you know, who are doing this. So I report it as a concerned consumer, right? And I think everybody else should report it. You know, all those IFAM that say, oh, what business is it of yours if they break the rules? Well, it's everybody's business, isn't it? Because we're the consumer, and, you know, you shouldn't be lied to when you're consuming their product. Yeah, but I'm fed up of reporting them. I can't be bothered to do it. I've made a concerted effort to do it full, proper and right the last few months. I put together proper evidence, got every single piece of evidence together, so there's absolutely nothing that they can miss, and absolutely no way they can say, right, there's nothing committed here. So what more can I do? What more can you do? What more can we all do? The answer is fuck all, right? That is the conclusion that I've come to. Why should there be a system in place, the ASA, who don't even take their own system? They don't take it seriously. So why should we take it seriously? That's my concern. Anyway, please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. And if you work for the ASA, I'm not happy, right? So sort yourselves out and let us know, in fact, what you plan to do in the future to make things better. Until next time, please give this video a massive thumbs up and comment all of your thoughts about it down below, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Take care of yourselves, and bye-bye.